Hello, everyone, and welcome back to How to Beat Your Mom at Chess. I'm Jennifer. This is
Fabi.
Fabian, and today we are going to talk about a really important topic, a topic that I think is a bit underrated, but maybe not for long, as my friend Laura Smith and the legendary coach Dan Heisman just wrote this book called Can I Take It? What an important question in chess. Today, it's going to be all about, can Fabi take it? So we're going to start with one of the positions from their book. The question in this position, Fabian, is there are many, many captures here. Which one would you make? You can capture the rook, you can capture the bishop, you can capture the bishop with the pawn. What is the best take? Or none of them did. What should I take? So what do you think, Fab? Okay, so knight takes rook is one obvious choice. But then after bishop takes bishop, the problem is that after rook takes, pawn takes, the situation is not going to be that great for white. In fact, this could be problematic because I am a little worried about this pawn here becoming an issue for you. So, like for instance, if bishop here, bishop takes pawn, rook here, and black would be winning again. So this is not the best way for white to play. So let's look at another option.
I think white should take it.
So you say bishop takes e3, and now you have, what's the material count in this position? What do you have?
The material count is 1, 2, 3. One, and he has one minor piece. I have white's up 1 point.
That's one way to put it. Another way that I would put it is I have 2 bishops for a rook and a pawn, but the 2 bishops are very strong. And the pawn on g2 is likely to fall at some point. So this position looks quite good for white. Now, why did you reject this one, by the way?
Because if you reject that one, you can play rook here, and the game is over.
Yeah, and that will be a checkmate.
Checkmate.
Now, if you go here and I go here, what am I threatening?
You're knight here, check.
Excellent. So how would you stop that? There's a couple of different ways, but see if you can find one of them. Yeah, but that way is a little bit risky because I could play h6 now.
And then knight here, check.
Yeah, but then king here and the bishop. Yeah, maybe that works. Another thing I could do, by the way, is after knight here, I could play rook takes g5, and then after bishop g5, knight f3. And that's gonna be equal material. Maybe you're a little better because you have the bishop. But I don't like knight g5 because of that, if not h6. Maybe you're right, h6, knight f7, check, king h7 is maybe okay for white because now you have another chance to stop knight f3 with something like bishop d5. So maybe you're right about that line. But I do think that rook takes g5 would be slightly annoying for you. So what's another way to stop it? Stop the mate. Whenever you see a very strong threat from your opponent, you always want to look at multiple ways to stop it so that you can find multiple ways to win. Yeah, knight g3 looks like a very, very nice solid move. Excellent job. Another way, maybe, this looks a little bit passive, but it seems like it gets the job done. Bishop d1, stops it from coming here. So, okay, there's a lot of different ways. Good job. Here's another position from Can I Take It? Now, one of the reasons I think this is such a powerful book for you, Fabian, is that you are a really talented tactical player because you've done so many great tactics and you're very creative. But there's a but. Sometimes your organization, when you go through tactics, could do some work. And I feel like this idea of can I take it helps you with that because it reminds you that you always want to think sideways and look for all the different captures and checks before you make a decision. All right? So here's another interesting one. Suppose you're black here. Is queen d5 a good move? After all, you're up a piece. Don't you want to trade queens? Is it a good move?
Let me think about it. No!
Excellent. Great point. But you can see how a lot of people, especially new players, especially children, would play a move like queen d5 just not thinking about rook takes e3. Because instead of organizing their thinking and looking at all the captures, they would be fixated on this capture, right?
Da, da, da.
Great answer, Fabian. Being able to see that rook takes e3 stops this from being strong. Beautiful. A lot of people would also get fixated on something like rook e1, thinking this works, but it doesn't, because now, after queen takes b3, pawn takes b3, rook d3, king f2, and I think this should be winning. Oh, this is actually kind of interesting too. Wait a second. Hold on. Wait a second. Oh, well, I could just play here and win the pawn endgame because I have the outside pass pawn. Yeah. Because I just realized knight takes d1, I don't think it actually works. Because after knight takes d1, we have rook d1. And now if rook takes d1, rook e8 is mate. And if rook takes e2, king e2, rook d3, king d1. Right? It's funny, huh? Do you see that? But luckily, we wouldn't have to worry about any of that. We could just play here, and that's totally winning. Because at the end, in the pawn endgame, the outside pass pawn always going to reign. You don't even really need to calculate this, because in the end, the king's going to have to go all the way over here, and then black would do what? When white goes all the way, how? I mean, just give me the idea. You don't have to give me the exact moves. Yeah, you're basically going to come around here and take these pawns. I mean, because you have so much time, right? Yeah, and white has to make so many moves. And by that time, you're going to be over here, and they're going to get crumbing back. So
the king's over, though.
That is the power. Yeah, the king is, it's called the outside pass pawn because the king is forced over there to get the pawns. So, in any case, you found the correct move. High five. Another check mark. We are going to look at one more position from this book, from the advanced section. So they're split up into sections for beginner, intermediate, and advanced. The two puzzles we looked at were intermediate. This is the kind of position that separates the good tacticians from the great tacticians. Because there's so many different captures here for black. And you have to really think sideways and look at all of them. And ask yourself, can I take it?
I know. Take the queen, take the pawn.
Well, there's pawn takes, there's queen takes. Anything else that you might look at here?
Bishop on takes knight sounds like the opponent would just take the queen.
Exactly. Okay. Excellent. So basically, you're choosing between three moves.
Taking the bishop is the best.
Well, okay, but let's go through them all. So there's bishop takes queen, there's pawn takes, and there's queen takes, and let's decide which one's the best.
Queen takes.
Okay. If queen takes, do you see a good move here for white? Think about tactics. Does white have any in-between moves that attack, that keep the pressure on? In-between moves. Because if I just take here, you take here, and you're just up a piece, right? Do you see a good move here for white? Do you? Wow. And now, if I play bishop takes queen, what do you do? The analysis is not quite yet over yet. If bishop takes queen, what happens?
Knight takes queen.
And then if the bishop moves, I don't know, like here or something. Yeah, exactly. And now, if bishop b4 check, what can white do? Exactly. Bishop d2, sorry, that's a little hard for you to reach. Bishop d2, and the position is fine for white. Excellent. So it's a lot of calculation, but that's what it takes to get to the next level. To take it, to get to the next level, you do need to learn when to take and when not to. So we looked at queen takes c6, and we saw that knight takes c7 is a brilliant in-between move, which keeps the balance for white. Knight takes c6 is a pin. Bishop takes c5, we just take the queen. Now what about bishop takes e2? Is that any good, Fab? Why? What would you do? Just bishop takes d7, and then after king takes d7. Now you gotta make a good move, because if you take on e2, knight takes d5. But what can you do first? As white.
Knight takes e7.
Yeah, exactly. Knight takes e7, brilliant. And then you're gonna be able to get your knight out. Your knight does look a little shaky, but the problem is there's two squares that black would need to cover to trap it, and you're gonna be able to extricate your knight somehow. And if they take the knight back, then you take the bishop. So you are restoring the balance there as well. So very interesting. Okay, now, does that mean it's good for black, or is there one move that we haven't yet looked at that actually does win a piece? It's one move, and I think it was actually your first instinct. So your instincts are very good, Fabian. Your first instinct in this position was that the best capture for black was none other than what? Exactly. Pawn takes c6. And now the problem is that after knight takes e7, bishop takes e2, and the queen's not going to take. So we just end up winning a lot of material here. And if you take back here, we get to take the knight. So, true, we take it with the pawn, and everything is fine. I guess they could play knight takes f6 to save themselves one pawn, but you're still going to be winning there. Okay, good job. So one thing that I noticed about you, Fabian, is you love to give your opponent interesting questions like, can you take this? Can I take it? And in a recent game, you were actually playing white, but I'm giving myself white here because I want to show you what happened. You're white in this position, and you played a really creative move. You played the move bishop to h6, just giving up your bishop. But the question here is, can I take it? And if the answer is no, maybe I can take something else. So would it have been a good move for your opponent to play bishop takes bishop? Why not? Well, your idea was clearly to play knight f6 check, yeah. That was clearly your plan. And after king to f8, or I guess king to f8, now after knight takes e8, normally I would say, well, black is getting two pieces for the rook, so why isn't that good for black? But this position is very different than normal because not only are you getting the two pieces, but you're also getting a monstrous advantage, in fact, a winning advantage. What is very cool about this position, what I love about this position, is after pawn takes d6, you're actually threatening two things. You're threatening the queen, and you're threatening what else? Like if the queen were to move, what do you have? A checkmate. So you're literally, you're literally threatening the king and the queen at the same time. I love it. So by the way, a lot of positions in this book are about the error that many new players make in thinking that when they get a rook and their opponent gets two pieces, the rook is better. In fact, usually the two pieces are better. They're worth 6 points and sometimes even a little more in the middle game. But in this particular situation,
a bishop is better than an exchange.
Exactly. It's better to win a whole piece than winning an exchange. It's better to win a bishop than it is to win a rook for a knight, is what Fabian is saying. And a lot of positions in this book actually make that point, which I do think is really important because you need repetition of that. This is an exception, though. It would have actually been bad for black to have taken that. Now, you were playing a pretty strong player, and he did not fall for the trick. And that is the problem. After bishop takes h6, it's not forced for him to take here. Instead, he can take here, and that is a much stronger move. In fact, the strongest move of all is to take it with the pawn. Because then he's attacking this, and he's attacking this, and it's totally winning. He played bishop takes d5, not quite as strong, because he's not going to end up winning a piece right away, but it's also a pretty strong move. Especially if you play a move like queen e4, because now black can play bishop takes h2 check and discover an attack on the queen.
That's what happened.
That's okay. But the point is that bishop h6, it was a very creative move, but the point is not just to find the creative moves. It's also to check. Can they take it? And can they take anything else?
What about can I take?
And so if you combine, yes, can Fabi take it? So if you combine these skills, creativity and calculation, that is what makes you a monstrous tactical player. You have to keep asking yourselves, can we take it? Yes?
Yeah.
No? Sometimes.
Yes.